Ricardian equivalence. So this proposition was given by David Ricardo and Robert Barrow. So that is why this proposition, this equivalence, is also known as Ricardo and Barrow proposition. So what does this proposition state? First of all, this is related to your government debt. So this proposition states that neither debt nor deficit has any impact on economic activities. So they gave in particular two reasons for this. First reason that they gave was that consumers do not change their consumption in response to tax cut. So if there is a tax cut, consumers will not increase their consumption. So it was the first proposition, that first reason they gave for this proposition of theirs, that a tax cut will not increase consumption. Why so? They said that consumers are rational. Consumers are rational beings. So they will know that if you give them tax cut in current period, you will substitute this with a higher tax in later period so that you can manage your debts and deficits, so that you can manage your spendings. So these are rational beings and they know that current decrease in taxes by 1 will be followed by, rather to say, increase in taxes by 1 plus R in future period. This was the very simple first proposition, that these are rational beings and they know that if you cut taxes by 1, you will compensate it by increasing taxes by 1 plus R. So they will adjust for this increase in taxes in current period itself. So they'll save. And second proposition was that when public saving decrease or deficit rise, so private saving will increase with 1-for-1 increase in your deficit, will increase for 1-for-1 with the deficit. And thus, if you see the total saving identity, total savings is nothing but your private savings plus public savings. So your public savings are down, but your private savings are up. Your net change in your total savings is 0. This will not affect investment in long run. So if it will not affect investment, this will not affect capital accumulation. So there will be no effect on your capital accumulation, only for the reason that your total saving was unaffected. For these two reasons, number 2 and number 1, for these two reasons, David and Ricardo said that there will be no impact of debt and deficit on economic activities. So what's the view of economists? Long sequence of debt and deficit will be a cause of worry for the government, but not to the degree as we thought earlier. So there is some weight in what David Ricardo and Barrow are saying, but not that much. That it's too extreme of a proposition. So, and timings are uncertain. So if this government will increase taxes by 1 plus r, they will increase so in future, and such future taxes are distant and you do not know when this increase will take place. It can be after 1 year, it can be after 5 years, it can be after 10 years. So we do not know when this increase will take place. So they become very distant to us, and as a result of which, because these things are distant, consumers ignore them. They are not as rational as you thought. Consumers will ignore them. And this increases consumption due to tax cut. Because consumers simply ignore this tax increase in future, because these future taxes are distant and timings are uncertain. So what is the conclusion of all the proposition and the economist's view? The conclusion is that deficit and debt have an important effect on economic activity, but smaller effect than we thought before Ricardian equivalence. And yes, large deficits will mount up into large debts. So your deficits will become your debts in future, and these debts will hamper your capital accumulation